Well, welcome to this live stream of Sooner Legends podcast. As you can see, I've got my good friend Coop right along with me. Boy, he's like a champ. I'm thinking he's already got a bag and a toothbrush over here in the green room with me. He's on here a lot. Coop, we love having you. Can I get you, if you're new to the channel, hop out and hit the subscribe button, turn on your post notification bells, give us a like, give us a comment. Let's go. How you doing today, Coop? Happy Labor Day.
Hey, thank you to you too. And yeah, no, I have got some chicken in the smoker and got the kids and the missus went off to go play in the splash pad. So just did another little really deep dive, watching the game over again. Trying to find some stuff as far as third down conversions and just information that's hard to see in your live shot. So yeah, it's we now have game film to talk about instead of rumors and practice.
Right. Well, Coop, I'm going to start out by saying I watched Jay a while ago with his new video drop, and this stat shocked me. And it was mind-boggling. This is the first time since 2017 that Oklahoma, on their opening game, has held any FBS team under 200 yards.
Yeah. And I mean, if you really want to take a look at, when earlier in the game, Kirby Smart said this, and I said this, I think, in our show the other day, is, he made a comment that when, he was interested in seeing, how his team responded to giving up plays, because typically when you give up a big play or an explosive play, how do you react after that? And, Temple's, let's see here, their largest play that they gave up all day was 28. Oklahoma, the largest play that they gave up was 28 yards. And, but it seems like every single time Temple did anything, Oklahoma turned around and had a massive negative play or a turnover right after. So this defense was supposed to do what they were supposed to do. And they did it. It's been a long time since you said, they manhandled an opponent that they were supposed to manhandle defensively.
Well, I don't know if you've caught my rant video yet that I put out this morning. Boy, I was on fire. It was about the fan base and the negative Nancy's about the O-line play that they seen. Coop, you and I have seen worse O-line play than what we seen Saturday.
Yes. And you know what? I went and looked at a lot. I mean, I watched a lot of college football in the past couple of days, and there was a lot of teams that really had some curious, offensive line play. A lot of teams who put up big numbers on the offense. They were kind of emptying the bag. Jay and I at the game, we both felt one way, and we were kind of in sync, and people around us were listening to us talk and saying it does seem that way. And it seemed like Oklahoma wanted to play the game in a box. They didn't really go push the ball down the field. Brent Venables said after the game that was by design. And at this point, you kind of, with what I saw and that comment, it seemed accurate. So I just go with the fact that there was not, we took 4 shots downfield. The early one to Farouk, the one to where JJ dropped the ball, and then there was the underthrow to Brendan Thompson, and then basically the offsides play that you just kind of toss the ball up in the air. So with all of that being said, I just feel like they wanted to see what Jackson Arnold looked like throwing the ball in traffic. And so there was it looked by design. And when that happens, there was a couple fourth downs, like I said, or a couple third downs where the ball was really they were trying to run with guys doing run blitzes off the edge, and nine guys in the box, 8 guys in the box. And so, I mean, this team, you won by 48 points. Opening up
Exactly.
the season, the defense looks like they never were in jeopardy at all the entire game. And again, you end
Exactly.
the game with the number one in college football in turnover margin at 6 turnovers taken away and 0 given up.
Exactly, Coop. And I heard I was on you, not on you and Jay's live stream, but I was in the chat, and y'all said it the best, like you just said. Seth play, and he said in his presser that he played vanilla, but like you just stated and Jay stated, they wanted to see what Jackson. They know what Jackson can do deep. They wanted to see what he could do in the middle of the field in coverage. And to be honest with you, Coop, what I was looking for in Jackson was, did he clean up what happened in the Alamo Bowl, and that checked that box off for me.
Yeah, 100%. You saw Jackson, I think the thing that Jackson, after rewatching the game for the third, fourth time, the thing that Jackson's going to need to work on is throwing the ball in stride. I mean, there were 2 times with Brennan Thompson and 2 times in with um, goodness gracious, Deion Burks, that he did not hit the ball in stride. And when you don't do that, it can blow up an entire play because, I mean, these are fast guys that are going to be running away from linebackers who are playing a zone or a spot in the defense. And there was one time Brennan Thompson got a false start, and I think that was going to be a play right after a turnover where we were going to throw it down the field. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I mean, Jackson looked great. I mean, at one point he was 5 for 5 with 2 touchdowns. He
Right.
ran the ball really, really well. I like seeing what he did there. There were several times that we emptied the backfield, and Jackson had good reads. One of the third down conversions where we didn't pick it up was a 3rd and 3, and Jackson really just did not. He kind of ran right at somebody instead of taking it out wide. So it's if you wanted to use this game as a live scrimmage, keep in mind that these offensive players have been playing against their number one defense the entire offseason. They learned each other's
Right.
tendencies, and to get new tendencies. And again, like I said, this game looks really, really different if Hester catches the deep ball. If Jackson doesn't try to feather a deep ball to Brennan Thompson, but at the same time, I mean, the guy still would have been. He was 17 of 25 for 4 touchdowns. We had short fields, so the yardage wasn't there because we consistently. I mean, I wrote it down. Started with the ball, in Temple territory multiple times, and so you don't have a lot of opportunity for big yardage in a full run across the entire field. When that's the case, you're not going to end up with. I mean, you think it this way: if you have 20 yards rushing and 25 yards passing, you score a touchdown. I mean, it's hard to get up to 300 yards when you're scoring from
Right.
your own 46 multiple times.
And I agree with Chicken's comment here. He said it's going to take time for the offense to be cohesive unit like the defense is. But hey, it was one game. But I'm going to beat this dead horse. We got Bill Bedenbaugh, the best O-line coach in the world. So I'm going to trust his judgment on that. But I tell you, another thing I seen that kind of brought back Sooner memory and Sooner lore was uh, uh, Taylor Tatum and his running ability. I mean, this guy is going to be explosive.
Tatum, he looks different. I mean, he just absolutely does. And I've been trying to warn everybody for a good year that we're to a spot right now to where transfer portal, exits are going to start getting more and more difficult to bear because you hear great things, great players coming in through recruiting classes, and not all of them can play. You still saw. You missed out on Caleb Hicks. A lot of
Yeah.
folks wanted to see what Caleb Hicks had to offer, and I will say this: Sawchuck really didn't get much. He picked up some really, really, some really, really tough third and fourth downs. Or I guess fourth downs that would be some fourth downs that were. He did a great job. Javante Barnes had one run where he picked up. He dodged somebody in the backfield and then cut through a very, very small space and ran for 12 yards. And Javante just looked really, really good. Sam Franklin, I apologize. I'll be the first person to apologize to Sam Franklin. Sam Franklin had that first play. I think it was a 30-yard run in the second half. That was the biggest one right away. And just really, really looked good. And so then you see Taylor Tatum. I mean, he was the second running back to march on the field. And that should tell you a lot. So I will say that you get a really, really good chance to see 4 running backs this year. And I'm not going to toss any dirt on Caleb Hicks yet, because there'll be some differences coming in here this week against Houston. You're going to see some more guys get out there, but you guys, there's only so many spots when you get into a really, really big game, for the running backs and receivers. And there's going to be guys that don't get opportunities to play, or when they get out there, they won't have the opportunity to make an impact because you've got so many, great players out there. That being said, we still are number 5 in the SEC in rushing, even after all of that doom and gloom. We ran for 220 yards. You had several calls, where running runs, were brought back. But again, at Oklahoma, we've been number 1 in the Big 12 for, several years at rushing. And so when you see anything like this, it's hard for a lot of folks to bear.
Exactly. And this is what I, on my Debbie Downer podcast earlier today. It is finally nice to see that if our offense struggles at any point this season, our defense is going to be stout. And like I said, Coop, I enjoyed the game. I mean, I wasn't as hard on the O-line as everybody else is. I thought that we were playing pretty decent O-line play until Hickman went out the game.
And I mean, I've got it right here. If you guys, this is stat dropping, so I'm just going to keep on going and going and going and going. But so we were 1 for 12 on third down conversions. Drive 1. We have a 3rd and 9. That's the one where Jackson Arnold scrambles and gets upended, and they had to review the play, and they gave it to us, or they gave it to us initially, but then they said it was, it was short. Sawchuck picks up, 2 yards to get the first down. We score a touchdown. Drive 3, 3rd and 12. That's after a sack on Jackson Arnold. It was a busted RPO. He should have gotten rid of the ball. He did not. That's why I think you still need to see Jackson Arnold stay out there a good amount and keep going. But Roberts runs a route, and he just turns around instead of breaks to the sideline. If he breaks to the sideline, there's a chance that we pick up that one. We punt the ball. 3rd and 9 on drive 4. Andrell Anthony drops the ball. That led to the 50-yard field goal. We're up 17-0. That drive 3 is where Hickman got hurt, and we still ended up scoring a touchdown. Or sorry, it was the second drive, and it still ended up scoring a touchdown. So you got touchdown, punt, field goal. Drive 5 led to another field goal. Drive 6 led to a punt. Drive 7 a touchdown. Drive 8 was a punt, I believe. Drive 9 was a punt. There's a lot in here that this clock ran. It just kept on. It kept on running. It kept on running. It kept on running. There wasn't a lot of incomplete passes. A lot of the third down conversions were not situations where we just sucked and we couldn't pick up yards. I mean, it's literally one of them. Brendan Thompson catches a slant and runs into the umpire. And as he runs into the umpire, he bounces it backwards, and we don't catch the first down. So you have Jackson Arnold. Like I said, he ended up 19, or was it 17 of 25? He had 4 drops. So you catch those, it's 21 of 25, 4 drops. And I mentioned this on our live is if you tell me that Jackson Arnold has 0 turnovers and 4 touchdowns, you know, and throws like he did, you're pretty happy. So
Yeah.
it's I expect I expect Jake Taylor's probably going to be back this week. You have a really good opportunity to probably see Bates and Hatchett at center this week. Bates was held out not because Bates isn't good. They went to Hatchett because I think they were still trying to make sure that they had somebody. You can't throw out Bates, who is dinged up a tad bit, and in week 1 all of a sudden have, you know, your 2 centers out for a lengthy period of time. I don't think that we see Hickman until Tennessee at the earliest. I mean, it's a high ankle sprain, and if that's the issue, some of those things can take a few minutes to get ready. But this offense, you know, I've now watched the game 4 times, and I can say this is there's nothing that I'm worried about. I do think that the guys that struggled on the offensive line, you mix around the entire offensive line, your second series of the game, and that was tough. I mean, that's tough for any team to do. But like I said, there were multiple teams, Texas, Alabama, amongst them, that had issues with their offensive line, and both of those are supposed to have, you know, all-world offensive lines, and they struggled in week 1.
Well, Coop, I ought to have my pants pulled down and my butt blistered because I had a chance to go to the game, and now after seeing one of my players from the 70s get honored at the game, now I'm really kicking myself in the butt because Dewey Selman got recognized going into the College Football Hall of Fame this year. Man, I'd have loved to have been there for that, but well, I'll digress on that. But I'm just giving Dewey a shout out because that was one of my guys growing up.
And I'll say this, that was really cool. I feel bad for, you know, the Toby Keith's family. I feel bad for Selman because I think a lot of people were waiting for the offensive firepower, and were a little agitated when it didn't come through. And so I think just in general, the fan base just kind of went to like a let's sit down and just kind of watch things happen. There wasn't a lot of energy in the third quarter and fourth quarter, and it wasn't because the fans emptied out. I mean, there were still several. I mean, it took me. I stayed the night at PG's house, fell asleep on his couch, watching football and Deadpool versus Wolverine. You know, I will say this: it still took me almost an hour and a half to get 30 miles away. So there were a lot of people still, you know, that stuck around for the whole game. And Jay and I actually hung out down by the, you know, with the players' parents and chatted it up with a couple players' parents too. So, I mean, it was a good week 1 turnout, especially for a Friday night. And, you know, I expect a really, really big game coming up here, you know, this week, because I think that Houston is that's something that the coaching staff can go to the players and say, all right, now we step it up. We need the intensity stepped up. We need the focus stepped up. And now Houston is not very good though. So I mean, they, you know, they're dealing with some injuries too, but I mean, they did not look good in week 1, but the name is bigger. And you know, this is a team who has given Oklahoma fits a little bit here recently.
Yeah. Well, Coop, you said in the green room you had some interesting things about the third downs or something like that. Would you want to share that with us?
Yeah. So as I'm looking through here, you know, you get you have 4 fourth down conversions, and I think that with the Jackson Arnold led offense, they went 0 for 10. There were really only 2 of those third down conversions where I thought, man, that was just bad play. Multiple times it was, you know, people running short of the sticks. A couple of times there were situations to where we knew that we were going to go for it. We were in, you know, deep in plus territory, and it was not anything very, very long. Like I said, I think you know, you hear it all the time. We're like, you know, they're probably going to go for it in fourth down, so expect a run right here. And like I said, there wasn't a lot. Jackson Arnold threw the play where he got tabbed for intentional grounding. he has Deion Burks for a 4th touchdown on the goal line, and he just bailed out of the pocket a little bit too early. So
Yeah.
I think that as an Oklahoma fan, like, you can go, okay, the 3rd down conversions, the numbers are there. You did it, right? The stats tell you what actually happened. We were 1 for 12 in 3rd down conversions. I think that we're actually 3 bad misses, and I wouldn't even say bad misses. There was just 3 misses in this, and none of them really came from we just showed up, went 3 and out, and it was bad. Like, there was, there were a couple penalties, there were a couple holding calls, and then a couple times that I think that Jackson Arnold just needed to throw the ball in a better position on slant routes. There was only 1 drop, and I think that was the Andrew Anthony piece right there. But these guys, Brennan Thompson's mom, told me that, he was excited to get back out there, but he was very, what's the word I'm looking for? He was very, very upset with his performance. He felt like he could have done better. So, I mean, this is a good week 1, because what you want to be able to do after week 1 is to give yourself things to continue to work on. Right. The offensive line was not terrible. I mean, as I was looking up the stats, we still ran for, like I said, 220 yards, averaged 6 yards a carry. Michael Hawkins had a big one pulled back, and that was rough. Taylor Tatum, 5 carries for 69 yards, a 35-yard long. Sam Franklin, 4 carries, 45 yards, 11 yards carry, 30-yard long. Jackson Arnold had 11 carries. He needs to work on some of the RPO pieces. Some of those things he needs to understand, that when you run an RPO, those are fast decisions. They are not run around in the backfield like a 5-step drop and try to create. I mean, you need to either hand the ball off or go to option 1 or maybe option 2 pretty quickly. So I think that those are good things to see. I did see multiple times that, and for those who maybe don't buy in that we didn't throw the ball downfield by design, I can promise you that I just, with my own eyes, after seeing the game in person and then watching it, like I said, 4 times now, there were multiple times that you had Zion Ragens, which is one of the fastest guys on the team. You had another time where Deion Burks was uncovered, one of the fastest guys on the team, and then multiple times where Brennan Thompson had a guy one-on-one, no safety help over the middle, and there was not even a thought about letting those guys cook.
Exactly.
So guys, we will see the downfield passing. We did see a few pieces, and I don't worry about those things at all. But I do say that, like, it was fun to see some of these wide receivers, because during the game, there was one time where a guy came up and tried to press on Ivan Carry-On, and Ivan threw the guy basically backwards. And that made me laugh, seeing that live. Deion Burks, I mean, literally, he's an oops by Jackson Arnold from having 4 touchdowns in his first play, as a Sooner, and he ended up with 9 touches. I say that Deion Burks is probably going to end up, right around somewhere between 110 and 120 touches. He's a guy who's built. He's a freak. He was on the all freaks list. This guy is not a slight receiver. He's not a Hollywood Brown style receiver. I mean, if anything, he's a shorter Deebo Samuel, the wide receiver on the 49ers. Like, that's the type of player that he is. And so I'm pretty excited to see what he can do, with 10 to 12 touches a game. But there's so many pieces of this game on offense that, again, it was underwhelming. Sure. Like that. I'm not going to skimp on that at all, but you got a chance to really see the pieces that we have to work with. I think the offensive line continues to get healthy. That's going to turn a lot of things away. But we'll see here in these next 2 games. Some more people. You still have Jaquez Petaway, who didn't get anything really thrown in his direction. Ragens had 1 catch for 7 yards. Andrew Anthony had a couple balls thrown his way. He had a drop, and he had a short catch. So now you probably get Nick Six back this week if the coaching staff wants to throw him out there also.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, Coop, as far as offense, from what I've seen, I mean, I'm not I never do judge game one anyway because you're knocking off rust. You've been in fall camp and spring camp all year. But you know as good as I do, it's different once game time. Toe meets the leather.
Yeah.
That's where it's. And I'm not going to sit there and bring down the world because of some lack of stellar plays and positions. But I tell you what, brother, seeing that defense, I don't care if it was Temple. I've been excited to talk about this with you. Thank God defense has arrived at Oklahoma.
I will say, I made the comments that the edge players, and I'll try to stay on task here. Your boy Coop has had a few while getting the smoker ready. But
I've already
there is there is there wasn't a lot of opportunity for the edge guys. From what I saw, PJ Adebawore is one that folks, really waiting to see flash. And so through one of my rewatches, again, I need a hobby. But through one of my rewatches, I really watched the defensive line alone. And, fast forwarded through all the offense and just watched the defensive line. There were multiple times that PJ either dropped into coverage and pushed something inside, or he set the edge and bounced something back inside and really did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Caden Woolard, same thing. You saw a batted down pass on a slant route for Trace Ford. These defensive edges, these guys didn't have much to do all day, just kind of like the defensive backs. Those guys really didn't have much of a role in this game because the front seven they combined to, they did damage. But I do say that PJ, every single time that he was in there, some of the stuff that I saw from PJ really impressed me, because I did not see some of those things last year. He got lost. He got kind of tied up. But this year he was making really good plays. Also, the defensive tackles, they played the game in the backfield so much that it basically pushed. And the quarterback for Temple, he never really got out on the edge, in the escape, because he couldn't. He had guys in his grill so quickly. But it literally was the inverse pocket for him on multiple times because of Grayson Halton. I think as far as the defensive lineman, he gets the MVP for the day. We've been waiting on G Baby to make an appearance. And he did a phenomenal job. Jaden Jackson, shout out to his mom. I got to see her at the end of the game, and she looked like she was emotionally spent. That's big for her family too. So I got to get up and give her a hug. And she was extremely excited and happy to finally get out of the stadium. But they played really well. You saw David Stone make a few plays. He had one to where he was in the backfield, getting the crowd revved up, and everybody showed him the love that he was supposed to have. But there was not really a weakness on defense. There were a couple of learning moments to where I think Kobe McKenzie had one to where his eyes got a little tricked, and he gave up one of their 11-yard plays. But again, we don't have any 45-yard plays. We don't have any long touchdowns. There was none of that. So this defense is real, and that was a straight up play it how it is defense.
Exactly.
Gotta think that Kendall Dobie's probably my overall player of the week.
Yeah.
That guy, he's different. He is just different. And he has a big year in store, because, he reminds me, if everybody remembers Brandon Shelby was a nickelback who, when he blitzed, he just knew how to get home. And he did such a great job when he was doing those blitzes from the secondary. It's just, guys, even if they didn't make a tackle in the backfield, they pushed it back into 3 or 4 other players. That front seven just, I mean, they stole the whole game, and I feel bad for guys like Kenai Walker, Des Malone, Peyton Bowen, because those guys were more of your coverage guys, and they didn't really have anything to do the whole game. That I think I played as much as Peyton Bowen did.
Yeah. Now, Jay gave a stat, but I can't. It was about Oklahoma's 6 quarterback sacks, and he was comparing it to something, and I've already lost my train of thought. What didn't he touch on that in that video he posted out today?
I have not watched Jay's video, so Jay, I apologize, my man. Like I said, hanging out. But you didn't have Woody Washington play. He was held up precautionary. Gentry came in. He played 6 or 7 snaps, I think, something around that area. He was a guy who, if this was a bigger game, he would have probably been out there. But the reason why you get excited about those two is one of them 6'1", one of them 6'2". So you have size. Watching the LSU USC game last night, you saw a couple of times to where one of the touchdowns that Lacey had for LSU, just really, really, really bad, defensive back play. Guy, kind of got lost, balls in the air. I don't know, really, you have one assignment, and that's your receiver, and he's in the end zone. You need to have eyes on the ball. I feel really, 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 I guess, comfortable with that room also, because you also didn't have Eli Bowen, who didn't, get to come in. You got to throw out some new guys. Jeremiah Newcomb got in the game. Devon Jordan got in the game at the end of the game. So, I mean, you've got a deep room. We make the comments all the time and the fun jokes about competitive depth. So everybody take your drink, but you truly do have competitive depth, across the board on this defense.
Yeah, I tell you what, Coop. And I've said this just in chats elsewhere, that once Michael Boganowski gets going, he's going to put people in ICU.
The Baba Yaga man cometh. Again, bless his father.
I love Mike.
Big Mike. Before the game, when I caught up with Big Mike before the game, he had a little bit of a back issue, and driving up from Junction City, I could tell that he was pretty spent, but it was pretty fun because when he came in, everybody started whispering because people remembered the spring game. That was a big thing. And, but he, it was 2 plays in, the guy already he already had a body count. And so when you have, and he was, the first person in as far as backup safeties was Reggie Powers III. So you've got him, you've got Hardy, who, if you've watched the parent interviews, that's an exciting group, of guys coming down the pike too. Not to mention Omarion Robinson and Marcus Wimberly, who are, starting up their senior years. I mean, the safety room is going to be an asset for this team going forward, and it's not even close. I mean, there is a lot. You're going to see a lot of these guys being 3 and done types of guys. I don't think Boganowski is a guy that you can have, a red shirt on, because he just adds so much. But that's why you see some of the confidence with Peyton Bowen returning punts, is because, you don't want to throw him out there if you don't have depth at safety. But now with what you have, I mean, between RSJ, who had, again, he's right behind Dolby as far as the, the defensive player of the week. But Boganowski, you saw Hardy with an interception. That quarterback really just threw up a little bit of a prayer, and Hardy got to place, 500 in the backfield. But, again, like I said, Eli Bowen didn't make it into the game because he was held out he was a little dinged up. And so he wasn't out there. Jacoby Johnson, he got a ton of reps out there on the defensive end, the defensive side of the ball. He was one that I'm glad he got some time, because he is also going to be a great player. and he has the opportunity to, come in early in the season and really get some game time reps and work on some of the stuff, get some film that, the coaching staff and Jay Valai can point towards. So we played 84 players across the board. My prediction was that we were going to play 65 to 70. So obviously that was much more, but you saw guys like Ace Hodges get in on the defensive line and make plays. So there's Marcus Strong came in and almost had himself 3 sacks. Let's see here. What number is Jacoby Johnson? Mike might have froze on us here, but I believe Jacoby is either 18 or 19. I'll have to. Let me see if he's in the stats list over here. But yeah, that was here's Jacoby. He did end up with 4 tackles, 3 solo, and Jacoby is 19, so he was out there quite a bit, and he got some good run time. I think that apparently this is my show now, but another big piece is you got to see Samuel Omasigo. Half tackle for loss. The team ends up with 9 total tackles for loss, 6 sacks. Guys that contributed in on the sack piece: Grayson Halton with a sack and a half. Marcus Strong had 2. Downs had 1. Dolby had 1. Ashton Sanders had a half sack. A lot of guys probably got cheated out of stat, showing up in the stat sheet because there were too many people there at the same time. Bergen Kaiser, who is a preferred walk-on from the Oklahoma area. That guy is somebody who's going to end up being a big player. He showed out. Stone had 2 tackles. So some things that after seeing game 1 and watching on special teams, everybody can mark it down that I fully believe that Jaren Kanak is going to have multiple big plays in special teams this year. There were multiple times that he had the opportunity to block punt, and he did not take that opportunity. So expect that. I bet Jaren Kanak ends up with at least 1 punt block this year. And, that's one of the things in watching these films over and over and over again is you can have a lot of that. He says, Mike is almost there. I am rambling is what I'm going to tell Mike. I am rambling along. So, but Kanak, again, in games like this, you don't want to embarrass the opponent. You don't want to have poor sportsmanship. But I think if they really, really pressed, that's something that he could see. Guys that I want to see some pieces work. Hey, there you go, Mike.
Yeah, we got new internet service out here. It's fiber optic, and I tell you what, I'm going to shoot
it. Well, it's all right. It's all right. Anybody who gets just kind of me ramble off script, I BS for a living. That's why I'm in sales. So, but yeah, I fully think that. I was saying that I'm calling that at least some point in the season, Jaren Kanak's going to block a punt.
I am too.
He peeled off on multiple occasions. Also, if you look at the punt coverage and the special teams coverage, Doug Deacon has changed that room.
He has.
You see, Billy Bowman was on punt coverage the entire game. I guess for the majority of the game, at least 80% of the game. There's a lot of opportunity for that room to do some damage. And I think that when you have that many big playmakers on the field, Jaren Kanak out there, Billy Bowman out there, Michael Boganowski out there, Reggie Powers III, you've got so many opportunities for those guys to make game-changing plays. We're going to see that. And we saw it with, it was Lewis Carter, who is the one who caused the fumble. He comes flying, never gives up. And he's the one who caused the fumble that Kanak got the scoop and score. So,
right.
Expect special teams. Anything. Yeah. And again, Chicken, you are 100% right. Like when you had special teams back in 2000, you had Antoine Savage, you had Curtis Fagan, you had Damian Mackey, you had JT Thatcher. All those guys were stacking it, and those were your starters. Those were your superstars that were out there. Also, fun story. I ran into a guy who came up and wanted to take a picture with Jay and I, and ended up being Antonio Perkins' cousin. And so
Wow.
I was like, man, you need to see if you can give him my information and let's get him on, because I'd love to talk to Perk about, the game. That was the first thing that I recommended to you for your podcast was
Yes.
to do a review for that game, because I was in attendance there, and that was a really, really fun game. But guys, I'll say this: special teams is no longer something that we just hold our breath and hope to God that nothing terrible happens. The only thing I saw in special teams at one point, I think Taylor Tatum got pushed back into Peyton Bowen on a fair catch, and which could have kind of been scary, but they were talking right afterwards and had some conversation. So I mean, that special teams unit, those field goals were not lucky field goals. They were all true. They were all really, really good kicks.
Yes,
And so as long as and everybody loves this comment, but as long as our kickers stay away from kicking fast food, I think we got something running.
yeah, that was a breath of fresh air, especially on when they first was it the 50-yarder that they did first? Was that the first
Say that
field
one more
goal?
time. Say that one more
What
time.
was the 50-yarder? Was that the first one
Yeah, that was the first one, and that was, let's see here, that was our fourth drive. Andrew Anthony dropped third down conversion, so it was the 50-yarder, and I mean it was 50-51, somewhere right between there.
I will be honest with you, Coop. When they trotted him out to kick it, my heart stopped. I mean, I'm like, oh no. But like you said, it wasn't a fluke. That sucker was straight true. And the 42 was the same way. The 20, I mean, God. But there was
It's
correct me if I'm wrong. The two issues they had wasn't issues, but with the holds, was that Josh Plaster holding?
Yeah, it is Plaster. He bobbled one extra point. He bobbled two field goal kicks. So that's something that you're going to have to see kind of cleaned up. And I think
Yeah.
it was the extra point after the punt return touchdown, the fumble. That was a that was one that was dropped. I think that Keltner kind of stutter stepped and pushed it through.
Yeah.
So it was good. The only bad special teams play of the night, and bless her heart, so I say it here too, was the fourth grade teacher who had the Chick-fil-A kick. In between, she got herself a good run at it, but she was about 10 yards short. So if anybody can find out who that young lady is, I would like to support her, through Jay and I in the channel, and definitely get her hooked up. I know Chick-fil-A probably took care of her regardless, but she gave it a run, Mike, and she had some good energy. So, but overall, for a Friday game, you saw a lot of difference just with the intensity. Everybody wants to. I'm going to go ahead and say that everybody's going to want to say that it's just Temple on the defensive side.
Yeah.
But I will say this is you're already starting. So Jay in our Discord, they're talking about it right now as I'm looking on the other screen. We opened up as a 26-point favorite, late yesterday for Houston. It's already up to 30. That might be something that's up to 35. People who are going back and taking a picture of, getting a really good look at this game, they're going to realize that this game was when we were running a scrimmage. It wasn't about seeing if we could bomb the ball deep. It was putting ourselves in situations. I think, like I said, I'll mention this one last time, is I think that there's going to be continued tinkering on the offensive line. Getting guys back in, and you now have film of what can happen, with even the offensive line that we threw out there, and I expect it to be much better. This is going to be a game. If the Sooners have to run out there and win games 24-17, you feel comfortable about that between making plays as you need from the offense, and then at the same time, great special teams and great defense. And I'm not worried about teams like, Tennessee throwing up big numbers against the teams that they played. Alabama, a lot of those times I saw bombs towards these wide receivers and there's nobody in the picture covering them. In college football, you should be able to complete those passes. Those things should happen. But even Alabama came out and, if it wasn't for, their opponent just throwing them the ball, in their end of the field, multiple times back to back to back, that game did not start off very slick for Alabama. So exactly. I just encourage folks, please don't get too high. Don't get too low after week one. Take a look at what's in front of you. It was week one. You get things to get going. You've got guys on this offensive line who are going to get coached hard, and we'll see this team continue to get better. There's not a spot on this team that I'm actually worried about, even after watching some of the offensive line struggles.
I'm not worried about it either, Coop. I mean, like I stated earlier in the live, I've seen a hell of a lot worse out of O-line play, and I guess, like I stated in my Debbie Downer video, is most of the younger fans is now, because they lived through the Lincoln Riley era, race to 50 plus to win, with no defense. But me and you have seen great defensive play here at OU. Somebody like you and I, it's a breath of fresh air to see that we know we're not going to have to outscore the opponent anymore.
And I bring up, and I forget the year. It's somewhere in between 03, 08. There was a season that I think we showed up to Texas A&M ranked number 1. Reggie McNeil was their quarterback. Eric Bassey was a guy who was trying to bounce, trying to figure out where he was going to play. And it was a very, very, very bad day that day because we gave up 31 points. And I remember just thinking at that point, like, hey, how do we give up 31 points? Like, that's not who we are. And that's terrible. Whereas a few years ago that we were saying that if we can just keep teams, 30 or under, like, we're going to win a lot of games. And, and you saw a lot of offensive struggles in these big games, across the board. A&M, that was rough. I mean, they were really, really rough. Even watching LSU, I mean, they had trouble running the ball. They had trouble, again, I'm not going to be too excited about that LSU USC game on either side because, I was worried that if it was a close game, what did we learn about either side? It looks like, they have issues. They have issues to really, they have issues, when it comes time to just full complementary football, but that defense is not just a glaring weakness. I think USC got a little bit stronger. So, but I mean, I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb that I think our defense is probably better than USC's at this point. So, I mean, this is a team. It's going to be led by defense, and you knew that coming into this year. We knew that the offense was going to be a work in progress, but you got the pieces. It's not like you're struggling at the skill positions, even after 2 major injuries at wide receiver. You still have guys waiting, in the wings to come out, and you get Andrell Anthony back. I will say this to Sooner fans. I don't know if we see Jalil Farouk again this year. With that foot injury, they say 6 to 8 weeks. I'm going to go ahead and say it's probably closer 8 to 10 weeks. And then, he has to make his business decisions and find out what he's going to do because, he is an NFL caliber player. And does he want to come back and to play this year? Would he be welcome? Heck yeah, he's going to be welcome anytime that you can have a leader like that come back. But I will say this is at home, you're going to see Jaden Gibson. You're going to see Jalil Farouk on the sideline, keeping this team. I wouldn't say that you don't see those guys travel with the team on the road, but this team is a player-led team, and you saw that, off and on throughout the whole game.
Well, Coop, if it, I'm not ready to get out of here yet, unless you have to go. But I'd like to invite you tomorrow back on the live because I'm going to have Steve Stutzman on the show.
Well, that's
If you
awesome. Yeah, no,
if you
I actually don't mind that at all. I got a chance to hang out and talk to Steve a little bit, on Friday, and I mean, just a great guy, and it's pretty cool. I mean, Steve watches a lot of our stuff. He
yeah
loves Sooner football and he loves watching these things. So I'll be doing a parent interview with Steve. I think I might drop that the week before Tennessee, as of right now, if I can have some self control and hold it off until then. But Steve is a great guy, and let me know on that. And check
okay
check the old schedule.
yeah. I tell you what, speaking, you know, I looked through the depth of college football when this happened, and I haven't seen it other than what Danny Stutzman did last week with them walk-on boys. I mean, we can say it's the culture that BV is leading us. I'm going to go one step further, and I'm going to say that's a direct reflection of the raising Steve Stutzman did with Danny.
Yeah, I will say this is if you've watched the parent interviews, you're going after a specific type of kid, and a lot of the time you can point back to the parentals. You see them who are parents who are driving their kids to be better, faith driven, and but I will say this too is Steve is a phenomenal man. That guy has done it right. I can promise you that we'll probably learn stuff here as Steve becomes a little bit more vocal in this last year. What's up there, Coach Smook?
Coach
But
Luke in the house.
as
I
you
haven't had
get as you continue, yeah, as you continue to learn more about this, Steve did a great job with Danny. Danny has become such a phenomenal person, just on the field, off the field. He's going to be a guy that I posted in our Discord of is Danny to the spot right now to where he is in the Mount Rushmore of Sooner football players. I think for the younger folks, and if you go since 2000, he's probably a guarantee. But it's hard to it's hard to keep out guys like in any of the Selmans, Miss Selman, Jimbo Elrod. There's so many guys in the old school that deserve that too. But I can promise you this. Everybody watches Jackson Arnold, and we're excited. I think that Dylan Gabriel had a lot to do with that too, and so I want to give him a lot of props because that guy, that he was a phenomenal person, and you saw him do the same thing with his with his teammates the other day. He opened up a minivan and it had Oregon branded audio gear. And so, I mean, these you're starting to see more of these stories come out because I think that a lot of the people get a bad rap, and a lot of the NIL conversations, folks are getting a bad rap. But for every single, weird story to where you hear about a guy taking a bag, you also hear about Danny Stutzman giving back to his players. Exactly. Dylan Gabriel doing something big for, the guys around him. And, recognizing that this is a team and a family. And so, I mean, you expect to see more and more of these things coming out. Yeah. Even if they are staged, it's okay because it's a good look for college football because there's going to be. I mean, Danny Stutzman was a real deal. I mean, this is a guy who knows that he has lined up and hit a lot of walk-ons in practice, and they deserve to to have their thumbs up and their flowers for the hard work that they put in.
And you're right, Coop. I mean, I love Danny Stutzman. I just, and like you hit on it. I mean, I grew up with some of the best, and I wouldn't know where to put Danny Stutzman on the Mount Rushmore. But I will tell you this: I would find a place for him.
And again, that's the difference between having a when you're in no disrespect to this program, but when you're at Kansas State, you're going to have, generational players at your university that are super important to your university. Michael Bishop, L. Roberson, Darren Sproles, any of the brothers, the Lockett kids. Shout out to the 918 folks. But like when you're Oklahoma, that's one of the hard things is it's hard to pick out 5 all around since since color TV guys that guys that are that are just transcendent above the rest because there's so many different ones. I mean, I think of when you even talk about the early 2000s. I mean, you can start talking about guys like guys like Antoine Savage. Antoine Savage was an absolute crucial piece of that year. A lot of people forget about him. You start talking about best defensive players, of all time, and everybody talks about Derek Strait, but then they forget about Michael Thompson or they forget about Andre Woolfolk.
Exactly.
You go back into guys like Rufus Alexander. I promise you this. If Stutzman had a chantable name like Rufus Alexander did, I think that he'd be even higher. But when they show videos on the board at games, you can tell the difference between guys that like just the ball knowers know and yell for and are excited about, and then the casual fan. And Danny has become that person that I think that this year, if he wins the Butkus, that is something, or if he is like the a finalist for the Butkus again, I mean I think as of right now, he didn't get to play much because he doesn't have to play much, so we're going to see him more during conference play, stick in there a little bit longer. But that room is just extremely loaded. I mean, with him, Kip, Kobe and Lewis Carter, those are 4 interchangeable guys, and that should be one thing that a lot of Sooner fans get excited about is Danny Stutzman can come off the field and you have minimal drop off. And I made the comment, which is controversial. I've already had a couple people come up to me and say something about it, but I think the starters on defense right now are probably have a lower ceiling than the guys behind them do because of how Brent Venables has continued to recruit over the past couple of years.
I agree with you, Coop. Hey, Coop, I got a trivia question for you.
All right.
I found this in my notes. What person has more Big 12 championships than any player or coach in the Big 12?
What person?
I don't want to give it away because I tried to find he's damn if Coop any way it he was in Oklahoma. I'll just say that.
Well, I mean, obviously. I mean, you won 14 of what was it, 25? You won 14 of 25, so I'm guessing that's going to be an Oklahoma guy. I mean, Jimmy says Cale Gundy.
No.
Okay, so are we talking player or are we talking
assistant coach?
Assistant coach. I mean, I'd say Bill Bedenbaugh.
Nope. Bobby Jack Wright.
Okay. Bobby Jack Wright.
Yeah, because he coached in Texas. He was an assistant at Texas before Stoops hired him on at Oklahoma.
All right. Yeah, you got me on that one.
Coop, I'd forgot about it, but call me a nerd, call me what you will, but any little nugget like that I see of Oklahoma, I write it down in my journals and stuff. But
yeah,
so that'd be something to question Jay about.
That's a good one. I may have to bring that up because what's crazy is Bobby Jack Wright was pretty much ran off from the university. So
I know.
I mean, you've got this staff looks really good, and really a lot of the let's talk this, Mike. Bauer Sharp.
Oh my God.
Bauer Sharp was somebody that a lot of people had started hearing things about, but I don't think that a lot of people really were expecting that he was going to have that type of a game or that type of an impact. But if I'm not mistaken, I think he had 5 catches, 47 yards, 1 touchdown. I believe last year the numbers were we had 2 touchdowns by the tight ends and 19 receptions. I think it's safe to say that Bauer Sharp is going to exceed that.
Oh, he is.
And with with that production, I think that this staff may not have a coach that anybody can really come down upon anymore, because Joe John Finley seems to have got himself a little bit of a steal in the transfer portal.
Yeah, he did. I mean, if there was any steal in it, Bear Sharp. I mean, and it just wasn't about him catching either. Coop, did you see him on some of them blocks? I mean,
Yeah, he is a person that seeks out blocks. Okay, let me see here. I'm
yeah,
seeing Stogner had 17 catches for 1 touchdown, and Blake Smith had 20 catches by the tight ends all of last year. So Cade McIntyre had 1, Blake Smith had 2, and then Stogner had 17. So that guy seeks out blocks. And if you listen to if you listen to a lot of people talking about, the practice, Gabe and Teddy being out of practice, some of the stuff that I've seen from practice, those guys he likes to block. He seeks it out. He's in motion. I mean, we saw, this is another thing that gets folks excited. If you just want to nerd out here for a little bit, is, when you hear the words 11 personnel, typically what that means is you've got 1 tight end, 1 running back on the field.
right.
If you have 12 personnel, that's going to be a one tight end, 2 running backs. If you hear 22, that's 2 tight ends, 2 setback. Like, you're going to see a lot of that this year. And I think what really, really excites me is when you have guys like you can run, a 12 personnel with 1 running back, 2 tight ends. You have Bauer Sharp and Jake Roberts out there. You can have Taylor Tatum either in the backfield or go out in the slot or go out wide, and you have an absolute, kick-ass skill set on the field. And because you saw Jackson Arnold, I think he picked up 1 4th down conversion in that setup, and then he ran into he kind of made a bad read, and it was one of our failures on 3rd down, but he ran right into a tackle. But I tell you this is Joe John Finley. A lot of questions surrounding him just because of losing out on the younger Roberts guy. But I can promise you that this year, he's probably going to have, in the neighborhood of 40 catches. And he's going to do some damage, and he's a weapon in the red zone. So, that battle may not be lost at this point for Nate Roberts.
That's right. And I tell you what really kind of upset me in that game was Michael Hawkins made that beautiful run, and we got a flag, and it got called back.
Yeah.
That kind of upset me.
Yeah, it was, but at the same time, you got a chance to see what it was, and I think that people are going to be excited about Michael Hawkins and that second team, who came out and scored that last touchdown. My only caution is, it's at the end of the game. You're either running against Temple's backups, or those guys have been on the field getting their ass handed to them all night long, and some things opened up quite a bit. But I'll tell you this is. I think that Michael Hawkins is a guy that you have the capability and the trust for him to come in and to run something and to have some kind of package up your sleeve, because there is he's something different, and he is electric with the ball in his hands. I would say that he is he's not as compact as Kyler Murray is, but I think that he is definitely more of a lightning bolt than Kyler Murray is. So I expect we'll see plenty of Michael Hawkins even in conference play.
Oh yeah. Well, Coop, we've been going on a little bit over an hour. It's the holiday, and I'm going to jump off of here. Coop, it is always a pleasure and a thrill to have you on the show. I think we make a good team. For an old,
Well,
I guess for an old man, I can talk the young ball too. So, but
well, definitely.
Hey guys, I'm 447 subs. I'm trying to push for 500.
Let's get it.
Give me a subscribe, comment. Do all that. And I'm a disabled vet. and I'm trying to grow this channel, uh, give y'all better quality content. So if y'all read descriptions on any of these programs, on my programs, I'm going to be having my Venmo and my PayPal. If y'all could donate 50 cents, that'll be good. But I I don't get no super chats or anything right now. So if y'all don't mind, uh, kind of, I know times is hard, groceries are expensive, but if you want to donate to the channel, I'll have my link. I'll have my credentials in the description. And as always, thank y'all for joining the Sooner Legends podcast. I love each and every one of you. Coop, you the man, brother. I always enjoy having you on the show, my man.
Well, hey, listen, anytime that I get to just ramble about Sooners, I'm going to. And man, I appreciate with what you're doing. And like I said, it's I will tell you guys this is if you are watching, a lot of the parents watch this content. A lot of the people want to hear that stuff because they love hearing about them kids. They love hearing, they know that the kids are in good hands. They see the passion of this fan base. I mean, people love this. And Jay and I were stopped, a dozen or so times to take pictures, at the game on Friday. A lot of parents came up, said that they watched the content, folks that I didn't know, had. And so, I mean, a lot of these parents watch these things. So, help us keep this thing going because we want to continue to bring great content for you all. But we also do it for the parents because they, a lot of time that they are in Ohio or they're in Florida or they're in South Dakota and they want to check out and hear what folks are saying about their kids. And so, keep it going. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, guys.
And as always, I enjoy this so much. And guys, y'all have a safe and happy Labor Day. And this is the legend. We'll catch you on the backside. Boomer Sooner, guys.